Welcome back to the Champagne on Ice podcast presented by the Field of 68. And the regular season has finally come to an end for the Illinois Fighting Illini. As we record this, the Illini just wrapped up a season-closing victory in Iowa City over the Hawkeyes, and it is now postseason time, Big Ten tournament time. And we have a ton to talk about. Illinois, 2 games to close the regular season, one of them against Purdue in Champaign earlier this week. Beat the Hawkeyes, and we'll also preview the Big Ten tournament, talk about all of that, and kind of recap the regular season as a whole. So a ton of content here tonight. As we head into the postseason, I'm Kyle Tausk, joined as always by my co-host Mike Farmer. Mike, how you doing? Welcome to March officially. Welcome to postseason basketball.
We are finally in March, my friend. It is good to be here.
Did it feel like the
Illinois,
regular season flew by this year? It kind of did to me.
it's weird. It's weird being at school. I know this is my first year. Like you're going to a game once a week instead of watching at home after high school. Like I think it felt different in a way, but it did kind of fly by. Yeah.
Yeah, it just felt like the Big Ten season in particular just always flies by. It felt like we were talking about that Purdue game being 2 months away for so long, and then all of a sudden it just happened on Tuesday. It kind
Yeah.
of came out of nowhere, but that is where I want to start. Tuesday night, Purdue at Illinois. Huge game here in Champaign. I know Mike was out in the Orange Crush line at like 11 a.m., got a nice floor seat. I unfortunately was a couple hours behind and was watching from a bird's eye view, but still cool to be in the building. Awesome environment, as electric as I've been at as a student. I'm sure you'll say the same, knowing it's your first year. Awesome environment in Champaign. The result, not quite as awesome, unfortunately. Braden Smith kind of put the crowd to sleep there at the end. And the Purdue Boilermakers come out of Champaign with a 77-71 win. Definitely disappointing. Illinois led at half by 6. We're up 9 on multiple occasions in the first half. I think even got it to 10 at one point. Purdue had a big second half, outscored Illinois 43-31 down the stretch of the game, and made some big shots at the end. Illinois misses an opportunity to get that marquee win. The one thing that definitely is missing from this regular season resume is a marquee win against a top-end contender in the country, and Illinois had a great chance at home, didn't get it. Your reaction to the game Tuesday night?
Like you said, awesome environment, awesome opportunity for Illinois to get that marquee win that we desperately needed. Not desperately needed, but like would have helped the resume, of course, a little bit, maybe bump you up a seed line in March.
Yep.
But first half looked really good. Like Illinois had a pretty consistent, at least 4 to 6 point lead for most of the first half once we got going a little bit. And then the second half, things just kind of slowed down offensively for Illinois. Purdue's role players started hitting some more threes. Zach Edey continued to dominate after having, I think, 18 or 16 at the half, something like that. So Purdue didn't. I don't think Purdue really played their A game, and they still walked away with a W. Illinois also didn't play their A game, I don't think, but they stuck with Purdue for at least the first half. They were in it down the end, towards the end of the game. A couple shots just didn't go their way. Purdue hit some really nice shots towards the end of the game. Illinois didn't catch a few defensive rebounds, didn't grab a few loose balls. And you come away thinking, at least in my opinion, Illinois has the ability to stick with some of these top tier teams. Although we've lost to Purdue twice, we lost to Marquette, we lost to Tennessee. At least if you're thinking about a potential like Sweet 16 game against a 2 or a 1 seed, something like that in March, I think we know at this point in the season, Illinois has the ability to stick with them at least. And maybe the luck shifts in March and Illinois finally wins one of these really close games. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll see if Illinois even gets that far come March Madness. But somewhat of an encouraging performance against Purdue at home. And with the Iowa result just about an hour ago, I feel kind of good about Illinois going into March and going into this Big Ten tournament. Not as good as I would have felt if Illinois managed to take that win against Purdue in Champaign, but I'm encouraged a little bit. I don't think Illinois is in as bad of a position as I thought they were after that Penn State loss, after some of these rough losses the past month or two. But I think we're in a decent spot.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some positives to take. Honestly, to me, my biggest takeaway was more so didn't really change how I felt about Illinois, more so than it just made me feel like, okay, one of those teams on the floor is a national title contender. That's what a national title contender looks like. Illinois is not at that level. And I don't think I'm breaking any news to anybody that Illinois is not like one of the top 5 teams in the country. But I think you saw down the stretch of this game, every shot Purdue had, every good look, every big play, it felt like their guys just made them. Illinois didn't. And that's kind of the difference in the quality of the two teams, in my opinion. I think everyone was aware that Purdue is a better basketball team, and I think they proved that. I don't necessarily think it made me think any differently of Illinois. I feel like I've pretty much known that this is an Illinois team with a high ceiling, with a team that is definitely dangerous, but one that's a tier below the top of the sport. I think that's pretty clear. That's not to say you can't go on a deep run, but I think you saw what a team at the top of the sport looked like in Purdue, and they made the big plays when it mattered. They got all the 50-50 balls. I know Brad Underwood went on a big rant after the game about just not coming up with a couple of those loose balls. Purdue gave Illinois chances down the stretch last couple minutes and missed some shots, but whether it was Edey getting an offensive rebound, kicking it out to Lance Jones for a big three, whether it was Lance Jones making a big mistake with 15-second difference between clocks with like 45 seconds to go, and Illinois can't come up with a loose ball. Braden Smith gets the ball and just hits a dagger of a shot that those big-time teams and players make, and nothing you could really do about that one. Purdue just won the game, played a much better second half. I think the biggest problem I had in the game was more so, and it's kind of, it like you said, it almost makes me feel better because I feel confident it's not going to happen very often the way Illinois is playing, but their offense is kind of the side of the ball that lost them this game in the second half. It just felt like everything stagnated on offense for the first time. And I think a big part of that was that Terrence Shannon just didn't show up. And when he's going to go 3 for 13 and just be really hesitant, and a lot of his shot attempts are off balance, and he had Braden Smith guarding him for most of the night, and it just felt like he wasn't involved like he should have been. I don't think that's going to happen all that often, but I think it's very clear that if Terrence Shannon's going to no-show to a game, that Illinois is very vulnerable, and it's probably going to be harder for them to win. Damask had a big second half, but it was really only Marcus Damask on offense in the second half. He had 4 guys around him standing around, not a whole lot going on offensively in some of the biggest possessions. It was more so the Marcus Damask show, get him his matchups, let him go to work, and he had a nice stretch, but you can't live on one guy. As good as he's been, if Illinois is going to have to rely on one guy on offense down the stretch of a game, that's where they really become vulnerable, and I think they're at their worst. Whereas when you got Hawkins, when you have Shannon, when you have Damask all working together at their best at the same time, plus you've got guys like Guerrier who made 3 threes in the first half, and Rogers had a couple of nice plays and whatnot, that's when Illinois is their most dangerous, and that's what happened in the first half. In the second half, thought they were too reliant on one guy, whereas Purdue found big plays from a bunch of different guys, and that was kind of the difference in the game. But if you told me that an offensive drought was going to be the way that Illinois lost this game, that's probably I don't want to say I'm not at all concerned about that, but I think we've seen this Illinois offense. I think that's probably not going to happen all that often.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. But Illinois has this thing where like they take a lead or they've been leading for a large portion of the game, and the offense kind of just stagnates, whether it's missing shots or just not getting quality looks, bad turnovers like we've seen against like Michigan State. You have a couple bad turnovers, you go away from Coleman Hawkins in the paint, and the offensive dynamic just shifts for whatever reason. So we saw a bit of that late in the second half against Purdue, and I think in the middle of the second half as well. Purdue was only down a couple at the break, but like they kind of steadily climbed up and got back in the game shot by shot, whereas Illinois was kind of going shot by shot and kind of choking away the game in the middle part of the second half. But yeah, I think it really came down to the late second half as well. Like, as you mentioned, Braden Smith dagger, Fletcher Lawyer, a couple nice points towards the end of the game. Lance Jones hits a big shot, and then Illinois kind of only relies on Marcus Damask to have that big stretch with about 4 minutes left in the game, which I honestly thought Illinois was dead in the water when they went down 6 with a couple minutes left. And so we can look at the negatives to that and also look at the positives. Like Marcus Damask can still be that guy if nobody else is on their A game, that he can just get you 6 points in a row, get you right back into a game in the NCAA tournament or in the Big Ten tournament, because that's all we've got left now. So we've seen a lot from this Illinois team over the past few months. Like some games the offense is clicking beautifully and then they fall apart. Sometimes the defense, or most of the time, really, the defense has been just miserable. But I think in this Purdue game and even in this Iowa game, the defense hasn't been great by any means. Like you're still giving up a couple open looks. There's still miscommunications, guys getting lost on screen, stuff like that. But I think you're forcing a couple more missed shots per game. Like the defense has improved a little bit, which could also be a little bit of an encouraging sign come March. So yeah, this Purdue game, like you said, not a whole lot of takeaways on the Illinois side. Really, we've seen some things that we've seen earlier in the year in terms of guys making stupid plays down the stretch of the game, guys missing bad shots towards the end of the game. We've also seen some good things. Like overall, the offense was pretty good in the first half, decent in the early part of the second half. But yeah, just Purdue was the better team. Like guys were missing shots for Purdue early in the game. Like they weren't hitting a ton of threes. But as we talked about last week on the podcast, like there's going to be a point in the game where Edey's got his 25 points and he's going to kick it out to Lawyer, Lance Jones, Mason Gillis, like whoever it is, and eventually they're going to hit a shot. And that's kind of what we saw towards the end of the game.
Yeah, and honestly, you look at the box score, Edey had 28 points, and he did have a lot of plays where it's just he overpowered Coleman Hawkins or Dane Danger, whoever was on him. It was obvious that there was just going to be no answer there if you let him get a deep post touch. That's every team's dealt with that. To be honest with you, I didn't think Edey is what beat Illinois in this game. Like as much as that 28 pops off the stat sheet, like he's averaging 24. I think 28 on 23 shots, only had 4 free throw attempts, which is as low as you'll find Zach Edey shoot free throws. And give the officials credit. I mean, there were some poor calls in this game, but I thought that they actually let Illinois be pretty physical with Edey. They didn't put him on the line. Illinois did a good job not fouling him. And in the first half, you saw Edey was pretty efficient, had a nice run there towards the end of the second half where he had 3 straight buckets, but only led by 6 at halftime despite that. And it felt like in the first half, Edey was getting his, but everybody else was being neutralized pretty well. And then in the second half, Illinois kind of switched up what they were doing. They sent a lot more traps, a lot more help onto Edey, sent more bodies to him, and all of a sudden Braden Smith hits a shot, Fletcher Lawyer hits a shot, Mason Gillis gets a couple shots. And when those guys are getting confidence and those guys are getting involved in the game, that's what really beat Illinois because Edey didn't score for the last 7 minutes. It was Fletcher Lawyer who went on a 7-0 run. It was Braden Smith who had a couple clutch shots, obviously the biggest shot of the night. Lance Jones made one. Gillis had a transition 3. And that's really what beat Illinois. Did you have an issue with Illinois' approach in the second half on Edey? Because I know that's been something that's been talked a little bit about. Felt like they really shifted how they were going to guard him, and that kind of allowed the Purdue guards to get some more open shots. Did you have a problem with that, or were you okay with really trying to slow Edey down after his close to the first?
I don't know if I have a problem with it because the debate around Purdue the entire season, the entirety of last season, as well as do you let Edey get his or do you let the role players kind of try to beat you? And in the first half, we let Edey get his, and it was also the role players had their shots, but they were just missing, which you'll take as from Illinois' perspective. But I don't know if I have an issue with it, but I don't know why you would change it because Edey has his 18 in the first half, but you're up 6 at the break. You clearly looked like the better team for the first 20 minutes. And that was like, obviously you keep locking in on the role players. They'll still hit shots eventually in the second half. But overall, I think Illinois probably would have had a better chance if they just kept keying in on the role players instead of sending doubles, sending triples at Edey, because he's shown that like he can get past doubles. Like Coleman Hawkins and Quincy or Marcus, whoever would be the second guy on the trap, he's still like himself. He's better than the two of those guys combined offensively. Like that's why he's the national player of the year 2 years in a row. So I don't know if I'm totally like pissed off about it. Like, yeah, that's why we lost the game. Like fire Brad Underwood. But I do think it was an interesting point that people definitely made after the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if you were going to leave Coleman Hawkins isolated on Edey for the entire game, that probably wasn't going to go well. But I did think, like I said, for as much as Edey was playing well in the first half, I thought Illinois was living with kind of Purdue's offensive flow where when Edey got a touch, usually it ended well. but you really didn't have many other guys involved in the game. Illinois led by 6 at half. I get that they were up 9 or 10. Edie had a couple buckets to close the half. I think that's probably what led Brad Underwood to really be more aggressive. He saw Edie really heat up there to close the first half, and he's like, all right, we got to make sure that he doesn't just get in the zone here and absolutely dominate us coming out of the break. He got some confidence, really kind of closed the gap a little bit there. But I did think the biggest turning point in the game was when Illinois went into the locker room. Most of the momentum was on their side. They led by 6 at halftime. And then 2 of the first 3 possessions of the second half, Braden Smith made a 3, Fletcher Lawyer made a 3. I think Purdue cut it to 2 right away to start the second half. And that to me was kind of the turning point in the game, because when both those guys made a shot, it felt like they were going to really get some confidence, get more involved. And both of them really came as the direct result of trying to help on Edie. I know for sure the Fletcher Lawyer shot was just Damask making a decision to help on Edie when he got a touch, and Edie just kicked it right out to Lawyer. Braden Smith's shot was kind of a defensive mistake by Shannon a little bit more, but I think both of them pretty much are the direct result of just being really aggressive, trying to force it out of Edie's hands. I thought that was a big turning point in the game. I'm not necessarily criticizing it because I understand the thought process and I understand the fact that, listen, Illinois doesn't have a guy who's going to guard Edie one-on-one. Most teams don't, but Illinois particularly doesn't, because you got a 6'10", 225-pounder at center out there. But it just felt like that was a big turning point in the game, and I almost would have rather seen Brad Underwood say, okay, Purdue, come out of the second half, and if you're going to tie this game just throwing it to Edie, getting a bunch of 2s in a row, then we'll make a change at that point. But once Purdue made 2 threes there, I thought that really kind of kick-started their second half. But really, at the end of the day, like I said, I don't think Illinois' defensive approach is really what lost them this game. It's the fact that for a lot of the second half, it was Marcus Damask really doing everything, and the offense bogging down. Purdue got some separation there, went on a run. And, yeah, I mean, I think we kind of saw that, look, you know, Illinois was better defensively in this game, but we were kind of questioning, like, all right, can this formula of let's just go outscore teams, can that work against the top of the top? And it didn't really work in this game, because you found a team that could match you and that could get some stops and frustrate your offense a little bit, and Illinois lost. So I think it was a little bit telling on that front that, hey, Illinois is going to need to be better if they're going to beat a 1 seed in the Sweet 16, because that's what a 1 seed looks like, and their formula didn't quite get it done. But yeah, just disappointing. It doesn't change much about where the trajectory of this Illinois season's going. Would have been huge if they got it. And definitely disappointing. It's very reasonable to be disappointed with the environment the way it was, with how big a game it was for Illinois to lose at home as a top 12 team, regardless of who it is a disappointment. But I think it's more so just kind of a very telling result of where Illinois is.
It's kind of the same thing as last year with all the big games. Like, well, actually, I don't know if I'm right about that, but like we beat UCLA, we beat Texas. And then we lost every game.
It's kind of funny because last year Illinois had the top end of their resume, and that was like all they had.
And nothing else, yeah.
The rest of their season was like, this is an NIT team, but they have the UCLA and Texas win. And this year, they've pretty much taken care of business wherever they've needed to, but the top of their resume is terrible.
Yeah, but that game did hurt. Not really resume-wise. Like, you're still going to be a top 4 seed, almost guaranteed. Still finish second in the Big Ten.
Makes it tough to get a 3. That it might have put the 3 seed hopes to bed. That's the one thing it did.
But yeah, just like senior night, awesome environment. The Orange Crush was out, super rowdy. Purdue fans acted like that was the first time a group of people have ever said swear words at a basketball player, which, oh my God, dude. But yeah, that game hurt. Like, we still have a chance. If we get to Sunday of the Big Ten tournament, you'll probably be playing Purdue again. I'd honestly be shocked if you're not. So yeah, you could get a third chance to beat them. Got the nice win over Iowa tonight. Can still get some other quad 1 wins potentially in the Big Ten tournament. But yeah, that stung. And just beating a team like that, they've kind of had our number the past few years with the ED teams, with the Braden Smith, Jaden Ivey. Like, they've had our number a little bit, even though we've had so many other Big Ten teams' numbers recently. So yeah, it would have been really nice to get that win. Top 3 team at home. You probably should have won. You're favored, but I'm not too pissed about it. Like, it sucked, but I'm over it.
Yeah, and definitely feel better about it knowing Illinois was able to bounce back a little bit earlier tonight as we record this against Iowa. We may as well transition, talk a little bit about this game. I definitely want to talk Big Ten tournament, though, as well. But this could have been a very easy game here Sunday night for Illinois to just not really care about, because at the end of the day, you're locked into the 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament. Yeah, you're playing for seeding in the NCAA tournament, but you're probably going to be a 4 seed regardless. Probably could move up 1 or down 1 regardless, depending on how the Big Ten tournament goes. But really, Illinois not playing for a whole lot in Iowa City. Iowa, on the other hand, playing for their season, basically. I mean, they needed this game. They did a whole gold out in Iowa City and senior night, and yet it was half full, and ILL chants were pouring in like 4 minutes into the game. I mean, come on. I'd be absolutely embarrassed if I was an Iowa fan. We got a Sunday night game. I get it, spring break. I get it. I'm on spring break too, but Sunday night, season on the line. This win could propel you into the NCAA tournament, doing a whole gold out, and half the arena's empty, and we got Illinois fans infiltrating it. There's like 10 students there. Yikes, Iowa. And their team played like it, too. Their team was down 30-9 in the first half, and credit to Illinois for that. They came out and punched Iowa early. There was clearly Illinois didn't know they weren't playing for much against Iowa. They were playing to knock Iowa out. They were playing for seeding. They were playing to bounce back and avenge the sour taste in their mouth that Purdue left them on Tuesday night. And Illinois was dominant from the start of this game, got out to a 30-9 lead, might even been 32-9. I don't know if you remember that. It was something crazy. Iowa did make a run, got it to 10 at halftime, got it within 4 in the second half, but Illinois never let it get within 1 possession, pulled away late, and found a way to get it done against the Hawkeyes in a pretty wire-to-wire performance. Final score 73-61. First time Illinois has held someone under 70 since Indiana in late January, I believe. Or maybe that was early February. Can't remember exactly. I think it was late January, January 27th maybe. I'll get an exact date on that in a second. But it's been over a month since Illinois has held anyone under 70. Iowa, great offensive team. Part of that had to do with Iowa just missing everything, especially in the first half. But Illinois looked a lot better on the defensive end and really dominated this Iowa team from start to finish and got a big win. Is a quad 1 win. Can help you if you do have an outside shot at still getting a 3 seed. This one was definitely a must win for that quest. And the Illini will head to Minneapolis with some momentum and a win over Iowa, who Illinois could see again on Friday. We'll get to that in a bit. But instant reaction to the game that just finished about an hour ago.
You kind of not really collapsed, but I don't know, you let Iowa back in the game, which will make some people mad, but I honestly have pretty much zero complaints about that game. I wasn't expecting much, honestly. Like, as you said, a bit of a letdown spot. You just lost to Purdue. You're not playing for much. It's Iowa's Super Bowl. They got the yellow out, gold out, whatever. And then the first 10 minutes of the game, Iowa misses every single shot, and like the groans, the moans in the Iowa like student section, and then the cheers from the Illinois fans every single time
we had ILL chants 4 minutes into the game in a must-win game at home on senior night for Patrick McCaffrey, and my goodness, man,
it was 17-2. Yeah, 17-2. 6 minutes in, you're up 20 within the first 10 minutes. I don't know. Brock Harding, the kid from Illinois, had a nice little run by himself. Tried to ignite the crowd, didn't really work too much. Illinois still had a 10-point lead for a lot of the second half, honestly. And then Illinois was pretty dominant down the actual stretch of the game and just put it away. So I don't really have too many complaints. Like, I was probably not going to shoot like that again. I don't think their scoring output was totally on Illinois playing elite defense. Like, they had a lot of shots go in and out, a lot of just missed layups, stuff like that. But still, having Iowa put up 61 points on you at home, that's a win in itself. So I'm not complaining about that or anything. But I don't think the defense had an elite Hall of Fame performance or anything like that.
Right.
The offense also wasn't dominant, but like that was kind of how the game went. Guys were just missing shots left and right. Terrence Shannon played super well, got in transition, had some awesome defensive plays as well, hitting threes, step back crossover threes. Coleman didn't do too much, didn't do too much offensively, had a decent game on the other end. Damask did his thing. Quincy did his thing. Ty had a couple nice buckets. Dane Danger, you mentioned Illinois having nobody to stop Zach Edey, which is obviously true. But I think Dane's been improved like the past couple or last few weeks of the season at least. Been better offensively, been doing a little bit defensively, not just going crazy fouling guys, not out of position too much, although he was a couple times tonight. I love how Steven Bardo, every time we have a Steven Bardo game, uh he's just like he goes crazy every time Dane gets in the game. He's like,
Dane's his
this
favorite
Danger
player.
guy needs to get more minutes, man. Like, Bardo, you're not watching every game, dude. But yeah, I think he's been a little bit better the past month. Overall, Illinois, pretty solid performance. Nothing to really complain about. Moretti played pretty well off the bench. Harmon was pretty brutal. Good, he didn't do much. But like,
Harmon, we'll talk about that in a second.
yeah, Harmon struggled, but I'm happy with the win. Good way to close the regular season going into the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, definitely. And the fact that you really didn't get a whole lot from Coleman or Damask and you still win pretty comfortably and not trail the entire game, pretty good sign against an Iowa team that one of the better offensive teams in the country. I will say I agree with you. I think a lot of it was just Iowa was pretty awful on offense tonight, but Illinois jumps up 28 spots on that good old defensive efficiency metric, 102nd to 74th. We're top 75 now.
Big
Back
time.
in the top 75, no longer outside the top 100. So I did think they've shown better signs on the defensive end in both the games this week. Against Purdue, I thought they came out with great effort early, really played well on the ball for most of the game. Obviously, you're not going to stop Zach Edey, but I thought that they made it pretty difficult on him for a lot of his touches and made him take some shots, more so like 6-8 feet from the rim as opposed to 2-3 in that game, and did a decent job for most of the game on their guards. And then this one, I thought like Terrence Shannon was outstanding on Tony Perkins. In particular, that matchup was huge, 1 for 10 for Perkins. Terrence done a great job on him both matchups. I thought Ty was a lot better just on the ball defensively. Illinois still got a lot of issues in ball screen defense, but I think their effort has been better, and they've just played a lot harder, and certain guys have played a lot better on defense. So I think that's at least a solid sign. And to get a nice metric bump like that in the final week of the season, I think it's not nothing. It's at least a decent sign that there's maybe some signs of life here. Again, this team just needs to be decent on the defense. I'm not asking them to be the best defense in the country. Just pair that elite offense with an okay defense that can get stops when you need to. And I feel like they've done that here a little bit better recently. But, yeah, Terrence Shannon was a star in this game. Great to see. Like I said, obviously hurts that he didn't show up against Purdue. That was a huge game. Could have used him, but he bounces right back with 25 on 10 and 19 shooting. Huge first half. Got Illinois out and running early. Got out in the open floor. Just looked like the guy that's been playing at an All-American level here recently. Should be on the All-Big Ten first team come tomorrow when those get announced. In fact, I think Damask should be as well. At very least, one of the first guys on the second team. But huge game from him. Quincy, heck of a performance. This is the best Quincy Guerrier has looked in maybe 2 months, all in all. I know he had a much better first half against Purdue, but 14 points, 13 rebounds against Iowa is the key number, because the Guerrier of November, December was a guy that was on the glass getting double-digit rebounds every single night, and that effort and that bite from him just hasn't been there recently. 13 rebounds was huge. Go ahead if you wanted to add something.
No, I had no idea he had 13, but I noticed tonight, like, he was going up and getting them, securing them. Like, he had guys like Freeman and Sanford coming in, like, attacking off the rebound, and he was just, like, clawing it. Like, that was really good to see. I had no clue he had 13, though. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was surprised too until I saw it, but it did feel like he was really active, played super hard tonight. Man, that would be such an X factor for Illinois in the postseason. If they get the early January, late December Guerrier back, boy, that would be so massive, because he's been in such a slump here recently, but boy, he was playing so well early in the season, and just the physicality and the effort and the intensity on the glass on the defensive end, and making shots here recently, that's been huge too. Was in a big shooting slump. Had 3 threes against Purdue, 2 for 3 from 3 against Iowa. I think he's shooting 40% the last 6 games, so huge to see from him. And yeah, Dane Danger, you mentioned, he's been a lot better, man. He's been a lot better. Ever since I said, I think you can attribute it to me for him really breaking out, because 2 episodes ago, I said I think I want Amani Hansberry as Illinois' backup center heading into the postseason. Ever since then, Dane's been great. Been great. Amani hasn't played, so
How about the
I
Amani 4 fouls in 2 minutes?
I think I deserve some. Yeah, I wonder what was said when he got up off the bench. I wonder what the conversation was from Brad Underwood. They're like, "Listen, you got 5 fouls. I want 3 of them used in the next minute, please." Because that was funny. But
as you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 as we all get ready for the best month of the year, March Madness. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, you can use the bonus code FIELD150 and you will get $150 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's the best part. All you need to do is deposit and bet $5 of your hard-earned money. This is how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD150. That's FIELD150. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $150 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD150 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available in one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in Philly or New York, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create a new account in each state. It's easy, it's simple, and it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the conference tournaments and for the NCAA tournament. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boost, and my personal favorite, a nice little parlay boost here and there. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Big news, guys. I am thrilled to announce that we have partnered with Autograph, a company founded by the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. The Autograph fandom app gives you access to the best college hoops content, fan contests, and exclusive rewards like discounted tickets, all for doing the things that diehard fans like you already do, following your favorite team in the news and listening to podcasts just like this one. When Tom, and yes, I am calling him Tom, we're on a first name basis these days, co-founded Autograph, he had one mission in mind: change the fan experience for the better. It works like this. You get all of your college hoops content you want in one place. You get articles from your favorite writers, pods from your favorite hosts, contests from your favorite creators, all on the feeds and the sites that you already enjoy. But instead of having to go to all these different places, it all comes to you in one spot, the Autograph fandom app. But here's the best part. The more content that you consume, the higher you rank in the app. As you consider the level up in status on the app, you can unlock unique rewards curated exclusively for you. So download the free Autograph app in the App Store and use the referral code F68, that's F68, or tap in at the link in the description below or in the podcast app of your choosing to start earning points for doing something as normal as listening to this very podcast.
Dane's been great. Can't say really the same about the rest of the bench. Any concern about the lack of bench production here from Illinois recently, particularly as well as Guerrier has bounced back here recently, Justin Harmon has taken a nosedive, really hasn't given you much. Luke Goody hasn't played a whole lot. Moretti made a shot tonight. Other than the Iowa game, he looks a little bit overmatched against high major competition, and then you're not seeing Hansberry or Gibbs Lawhorn. How concerned are you about the bench production here for Illinois recently? Because it does feel like you haven't gotten a whole lot, especially from the backcourt off the bench.
I don't know, man. Like Harmon had that stretch when Shannon was out where he was scoring 10 a game minimum for however many games that was. Since then, he's been kind of hit or miss. Like since Shannon got back in the lineup, took a lot of his minutes. He's still playing a lot, honestly. So I don't know. He just hasn't been hitting as many shots. Hasn't looked like himself really. Is Goody hurt? Like, did I miss something about Luke Goody being injured?
He is injured, yeah. He comes on the radio show I work for every week. He said he twisted his ankle and hurt his knee in separate things recently here. I think mainly the ankle. He like rolled his ankle in practice before it was 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I think he is a little bit hurt.
Okay, so I can't really, I don't know, hope he gets healthy. I can't really draw many conclusions because he hasn't even been playing too much. Moretti, like seeing him like go off against Iowa, not go off, but like be a solid contributor. That's awesome to see. But I've never been convinced he's going to be a high major rotation player. Even
At least this year for sure.
yeah, at least this year. I mean, maybe next year that would be awesome next year. And then I don't know. Dane has looked a bit better, but he's still not like Dane's not coming in and playing 20 minutes anytime soon. He's not getting you 10 and 8 even. Like he'll get his points, he'll get to the free throw line maybe get you a block. He bodied up Owen Freeman on that one possession. Awesome to see. But yeah, I don't know. Like Shannon went out and the bench had to step up like pretty much all aspects because Rogers was, or they had like that 6-man rotation for a while. Harmon was really stepping up. Goody, Rogers, they stepped up over that month or so. But since then, I feel like we've seen seen the bench a bit more some games and just completely out of the game some games. Like I don't know, tonight it didn't seem like they did too much, but other games like against Iowa at home, they come in full line change and they all pretty much produce at a decent level. So I don't know if I'm too concerned. Like it seems like it's a game to game thing, a matchup dependent thing. Are the starters giving energy or not? Is there intensity defensively? If so, like I don't think we're going to see the bench that much, which I'm kind of fine with because none of them have been playing too well besides Danger in limited minutes. But if the starters, like if Damask isn't hitting shots, if Rogers has no energy defensively, stuff like that, I'm fine seeing Moretti. I'm fine seeing Goody, Harmon, Danger, all these guys. If they're ready to come off the bench and contribute, I'm fine with that. Like if Brad Underwood's cool with that too, I'll trust him. I'll ride with him. I'll ride with the bench. And so I don't know. I think if you let them get in the game in the Big Ten tournament and really do their thing, I think I'd be more confident in them coming into the NCAA tournament. I don't know. It's kind of one of those things that you got to wait and see for in the game itself. Like you don't really go into a game knowing Justin Harmon's he's gonna be a huge contributor this night. Maybe Luke Goody will go off this night. Like I don't know. It's kind of one of those wait and see things for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I also think like postseason time, you're going to ride with your top guys pretty much.
Yeah.
Aside from foul trouble, those guys are not going to come off the floor as much as they would when you're trying to preserve them in the regular season. So you're going to shorten the rotation, ride those top guys. You got 3 guys who are going to play a ton, obviously. If Guerrier's really bouncing back, you're going to want him on the floor. It just would be nice to get a little bit more from just particularly the 2 guys that have played bigger roles this year in Harmon and Goody. Feels like the last couple weeks, the close to both of their seasons has been rough. And yeah, Goody's a little hurt, so you never know how much that's been hampering him. But Harmon, he's made such an impact in certain games, but it's very certain games. It hasn't been other than the stretch Terrence was out. It felt like that, like you mentioned, was a prolonged stretch where he really was showing up night in, night out. Since then, it feels like it's been, here and there, he'll really make a huge impact, or you come away from it saying, man, Harmon was huge tonight. And otherwise, he gives you kind of nothing in games. And that's kind of the problem because you could tell Brad Underwood does want to trust him a lot, but he hasn't made a 3 since February 17th. And that's tough, man. He's got to make some shots because he's going to get open looks. He's had open looks. He's got to make a couple of those. And we've seen him really be aggressive as a driver at times, especially in some big moments this year, and has made some big shots, but really not giving you much scoring and defensively kind of up and down. Feels like it's been not as good on that front either here recently. So you'd love to get a little bit more from both those 2 guys just to give you some options off the bench because you do want to have guys that, whether it's foul trouble, whether it's an off night for somebody, whether you just need a spark, you want some backcourt play off the bench or some play on the wing off the bench. And I think it would be important to at least get one of those 2 guys going in the Big Ten tournament here before heading into the NCAA tournament. I'm not super concerned about it, but I would be lying if I said I'm brushing it off as nothing. I think you need some semblance of a bench heading into the postseason if you really want to advance far and play a long time. Real quick before we talk Big Ten tournament bracket officially finalized about an hour ago. Talk about Illinois' draw. Real quick, I just want to, now that the regular season's over, officially Illinois finishes the season 23-8, 14-6 in the Big Ten, alone in second place in the conference. Fifth straight season of 20-plus wins, 5th straight season of a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. or 4 of the last 5 seasons double bye in the Big Ten tournament. Last year they did play Thursday. How would you grade this Illinois regular season? If you had to give it a letter grade based on how it went, win total, however you want to grade it, opportunities they missed, opportunities they got, resume, whatever criteria you want to use, give me a letter grade on Illinois' 2023-2024 regular season.
It's pretty much what I predicted. And given like you had some injuries, you had the obvious Shannon suspension, things that have really impacted the season in pretty big ways. I would say I'm thinking B plus A minus. Like you missed out on Tennessee, missed out on Marquette, Purdue twice, which it stings. But in the end, you're going into the Big Ten tournament pretty much locked in as a top 4 seed, top 16 team in the country. You've been top 15 in the AP poll for the past probably 3 or 4 months, or 3 months at least, I would say. Guys like Damask and Guerrier have really stepped up. Coleman has emerged as should be an all Big Ten player. We'll see tomorrow. So yeah, I'm thinking B plus A minus. Like you've taken care of most of the teams you should have taken care of, dropped a couple games that you want to forget about, but you've been in every single game. Like without question, you have been fallen apart late in some games, dominated some other teams in some really exciting games. So I'm thinking B plus A minus. You're probably right where you should have been, as we predicted in October or so. So I'm happy with the season. Yeah, I'm thinking B plus A minus.
Yeah, I'm going to go B plus here. First thing I want to say is you should never take a 23-win season for granted here. I know that there's always some frustration going on, and a lot of it's rightful, especially when it comes to the tournament, and that's going to be important, as we'll talk about. But 23-win regular seasons have become expected here at Illinois the last 5 years, and my goodness, that is just – you should never, ever take that for granted, especially based on where this program was as I was growing up as a little kid in the early 2010s. It feels awesome to just be like nitpicking a 23-8 regular season. I know you want to have tournament success, you want to compete for Big Ten titles and not fall short, but 23-8, 14-6 is a season I'll take every single year if I can sign up for it. And honestly, it wasn't a foregone conclusion that was going to be how this season went for Illinois. I mean, you're coming off a somewhat frustrating season last year that ends in a 9 seed and 21 wins, and you know you do bring Shannon and Hawkins back, but you lose some guys to the portal. You don't necessarily know that Damask and Guerrier are going to be as big of pickups as they were. Obviously, Damask has been far exceeded anyone's wildest dreams. But, you know, preseason projections were maybe this team's 3rd or 4th in the Big Ten. Maybe this team is a 5, 6, 7 seed in the tournament. You're the clear number 2 team in the Big Ten, a 4 seed. So, honestly, you probably could say this team slightly exceeded preseason expectations. The one thing keeping me from an A minus is you went 0-4 in the marquee games, opportunities. You had Marquette at home, Purdue at home, and then 2 road games at Tennessee, at Purdue. You went 0-4 in those. You only had 1 quad 1A win, and it was at Wisconsin, a team that, are they quad 1A material? That's up for debate. Definitely not recently. So the top end of the resume is what's keeping me off of an A regular season. And if you had beaten Purdue on Tuesday, I think I would have gotten to an A minus, getting that win at home, getting to 15 wins in this Big Ten. But I gladly will take second place. 23-8, 14-6. Should absolutely be celebrated. This is a heck of a season for Illinois. B plus, I think, is right where I'd be at, and just kind of missing those golden opportunities at those big statement victories is what holds me back a little bit. But man, never complain about being a 23-win basketball team, man. It's fun to have just gotten to this point where this is expected, and you can actually nitpick 23-win seasons and not be overjoyed by them, which is fair, but. It's fun. It's a fun era.
It kind of sucks that the Big Ten just fell off a cliff this year. Like, past years, you have so many chances to get those marquee wins. Like, you go at Ohio State, at Michigan, at Iowa. Those are like massive resume building wins. And this year, it's like those teams aren't tournament teams. Like Maryland falls off a cliff after being top 4 projected in the preseason. Michigan State should not sniff the tournament, and they were at top 4 in the preseason AP poll. They shouldn't sniff the tournament, but they are because they're Michigan State. I don't know. Like Wisconsin looked really good at the start of the year. They've fallen off. Indiana, terrible. Michigan, terrible.
I mean, the three seed in the Big Ten tournament is Nebraska. Now, give them credit; they've had a great season, but like, come on, man. Your number
Yeah.
three team in your conference is Nebraska. Like, it's a dark time in the Big Ten. It's
And we're adding 4 more non-tournament teams next
yeah,
year, so it
yeah,
should
I
be
know.
awesome.
I know.
Yay.
We got 4 teams who aren't anywhere close to the tournament joining next year. Is the Big Ten cooked? Like, is this going to keep going on here? I mean, the problem is too is we might only get one coaching change. Oh, actually, we'll get 2 because Washington is now a Big Ten team and they fired their coach. But like the fact that
That's so
Juwan
disgusting to
Howard,
say.
Mike Woodson, Ben Johnson, like all these guys are just going to run it back and keep their jobs is really not a good sign to me.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like a couple years ago, there were some great debates about like the top coaches in the Big Ten. Like Fran was doing so well at Iowa, Turgeon was good at Maryland, Greg Gard was dominating at Wisconsin, Underwood, Painter, Izzo.
Juwan
And
had
now, like,
just come off a coach of the year, even though it
no,
was fraudulent.
you and I both know Jawan has been
Yeah, I know.
awful, like the whole time he's
I
been
know.
in Michigan.
I know.
But no, like back to my point, like those guys looked really good. Now Izzo, like he should retire, dude. I'm sorry, Michigan State fans, if you're somehow listening, like dude is washed. He's not winning in the Big Ten at all. Painter is still dominant. Brad's still dominant. But like Greg Gard, he's just picked low in the preseason poll every year. Like he's not this great coach. He had the who was the coach before?
Bo Ryan.
Bo Ryan. Yeah, Bo Ryan, right? Like he just had his guys. Jawan's awful. Turgeon's gone. Kevin Willard's awful. Holtman is awful. Like Woodson's terrible. Like I don't know. The Big Ten just I don't know. Is it going to get worse next year? Like they always have decent recruits coming in. They'll get good transfers from lower leagues, but like there's good home court advantages. But I don't know.
2 of
It
the
wasn't
top
that
3
fun this year.
recruits in the country are coming into the Big Ten, but they're going to be playing in Steve Peichel's offense at Rutgers. So, like, I don't know if that's going to go all that well. Obviously, the portal's going to be huge, but it's impossible to tell. Edie's gone, Shannon's gone, Bowie's gone, Jameer Young's. I don't know, man. This conference might be screwed going forward. It's going to be a big off season for it. But speaking of the Big Ten conference, their tournament's taking place this week, and it's gonna be an ugly one, I think. It's this bracket's not all that exciting.
I don't want to watch it, dude. I'm watching
Illinois,
Mountain
yeah,
West over
no.
this.
Let's watch some Mountain West, some Big 12, some Big East ball. Like that stuff is much more fun to watch than the Big Ten. I hate that my team's in this conference sometimes, but the good news about it is that Illinois is definitely the favorite to get to Sunday out of their portion of the bracket. When you look at this thing, now I'm not saying that's for sure going to happen. You got to win 2 games to do that, but yeah, I mean, Illinois' draw is they're the 2 seed. They play Friday night at 5:30 Central in Minneapolis in the first game of that second session Friday. They will play the winner of 7-seeded Iowa and 10-seeded Ohio State. That game will take place on 5:30 Central Thursday night, so we could just see Illinois-Iowa round 3, the official death blow to send the Hawkeyes to the NIT. Or we could see a red-hot Ohio State team who's been 5-1 since Chris Holtman got fired. Chris Holtman is.
Could send them to the NIT too.
Yeah, that's true. Pretty much Illinois will send either team to the NIT with a win on Friday. Now a loss might get them into the tournament, so let's not let that happen. But who would you rather see on Friday if you had to pick one? Who would you rather see, Iowa or Ohio State?
I think they're really similar teams. Like they've got like Sanford's good, Bruce Thornton's good, Battle's good. Like these guys are solid players, like all Big Ten third team guys. I think I'd rather see Iowa, just given you've beat them twice. You just beat them on their home floor. And Ohio State, although they're not that good, like they beat Purdue. They've won some games with their new head coach. I don't know. I don't really want to play them. Like they've been hot recently. Iowa's been hot too, but we've still managed to beat them twice since they've been hot. And I think Brad has Fran's number. Like, I don't know. Give me Iowa again.
I agree with you. I'd rather see Iowa. I think Ohio State's playing well right now. I think Illinois is just so much more athletic and physically dominant than Iowa that we've seen in the 2 matchups now. Illinois will beat them a third time. I'm not concerned. I really am not. Ohio State, on the other hand, I think that they have some guards that could give Illinois trouble. Jamison Battle's playing well. And they got a nice rim protector down low there in Akpara, who's come on here recently towards the end of the year. that can maybe meet Terrence and Marcus at the rim a little bit. So they're playing well. They feel like they got brand new life. They must have despised Holtman. Everyone must have just been done with him because they've started playing great basketball since he got fired. Jake Diebler, I guess, is working some magic there, but they're playing well. They're the hotter team, I think. And I think they probably will beat Iowa. I'd rather see Iowa. Honestly, either team I think Illinois should take care of on Friday. I hope I don't jinx that. But really, I think Illinois is significantly better than these two teams. You could argue the motivation factor that the winner of that game might be playing a win-and-in tournament game. Ohio State somehow made their way on the bubble. Maybe Ohio State would need another win on Saturday to get in. Maybe Iowa would too, honestly. Please don't let either of these two teams in the tournament, please. Like, let's put Indiana State.
Give me Indiana State.
Someone else in.
Give me these teams, dude.
We don't need either of these in. Unfortunately, that's how the bracket works. They probably could still get in. A win against Illinois would do a lot of help, but I think Illinois kind of proved here in this game at Iowa that they really don't care about the motivation angles. They're going to show up to play and be ready to go. Friday has not really treated Illinois well in the Big Ten, or their first Big Ten tournament game has not treated them well here recently, other than the year that they won it, which obviously I think that year was kind of meant to be because Michigan got the fraudulent Mickey Mouse regular season title, so Illinois was coming in with a chip on their shoulder to that one. But other than that, they lost to Indiana in their first game in 2022, lost to Penn State in their first game last year, so not sure if that should be cause for concern for Illinois, but I just think they're better than either team they're going to see until Sunday. They're the best team in front of anyone on this side of the bracket. The other part of this draw here is that Nebraska is the 3 seed, so they'll play at 8 o'clock on Friday night. I know resident Nebraska supporter, Keisei Tominaga fan, Mike Farmer will be rooting for them, but they will play the winner of Indiana, and then it'll be Indiana or Penn State or Michigan. Spoiler alert, will not be Michigan. So it'll be the winner of Indiana, Penn State. We'll see Nebraska, and then the winner of that one could see Illinois on Saturday. So Northwestern, Wisconsin, Purdue, Michigan State, all on the top of the bracket. Illinois would not see them until the title game. On paper, Illinois should get to Sunday. It doesn't always work like that, especially in March. Reason it's called March Madness, but on paper, Illinois should get to Sunday. Do you think they will get to Sunday and meet Purdue for round 3?
I think they will. Like, I think just looking at this, we've beat every team. Actually, no, we lost to Penn State, but like we beat every team in our little region, the lower half of the region: Nebraska, Indiana, Ohio State, Iowa. Like, I think we do take care of the first round matchup at least. And then you're probably playing Nebraska or Indiana. Like, Nebraska can get hot from 3 if they're at Pinnacle Bank Arena, which they're not because this is in Minnesota. As much as I love them, like, I think if we played them, we'd probably beat them pretty handily. If we play a decently hot Indiana team, I could not be less scared of them. I think Mike Woodson's terrible. Like, just like you called it in the preseason, they have no shooting. The most awkward team. Like Ware is good, Renew is good, Galloway's solid, but like, this is not a Big Ten semifinal team. Like, this is not a team making a run to the Big Ten championship.
I'm so mad, by the way, real quick. I'm so mad, by the way, because I absolutely cooked picking Indiana 10th preseason. We had it on our show. I'm like, hot take, Indiana's finishing 10th.
Oh, they're 6th. Yeah,
I hate their team this year. They're somehow 6th after all this because they went on this fluky 4-game win streak to close their season and got one like a 4-team tiebreaker. So they're somehow 6th place, so my prediction looks less good. They played like a 10th place team. I'm taking credit for that one. Indiana,
no, I'll give it to you.
I was on that, but We'll not mention my Maryland prediction, but anyway, no, I'm so mad that they're somehow 6th place. That is just the flukiest thing. They did not play anywhere near the 6th place. Although that's also an indictment on the Big Ten, allowing this Indiana team to be the 6th seed in your tournament. Let's wake up, Big Ten. Come on.
Yeah, like, what happened in this conference, man? I didn't even notice the seeds. Like, Michigan State is the 8th seed in this tournament. Wisconsin has lost like 10 of their last 12 games or something. They're still the 5th seed. Like, I don't know, but I think we take care of our pod, our region, whatever you want to call it. I think Purdue is almost a lock. If I was a betting man, I would take Purdue to the championship. with
I think
ease.
I think Purdue could sleepwalk to the title game here. I mean, Michigan
Yeah,
State, if they see them, like I'm not even going to pretend anymore. This Michigan State team's not good. Purdue will beat them easily. I'm not even going to do they got Tyson Walker and they got some talented guys. No, I'm done with them. Purdue will win that game, and then you're facing most likely the winner of a injured Northwestern team who has Ty Berry and Matthew Nicholson out for the year, and Wisconsin, who's lost like 9 of 11. I think Purdue could like rest Zach Edey and probably make it.
that could be the Will Berg breakout game, dude. No, but I think it will be Purdue, Illinois, chalky little tournament here before the big tournament. But if we actually end up playing Purdue again, do you think we beat them?
No, I think Purdue sweeps. I don't know.
0-3 would hurt, dude.
It would hurt bad. Maybe Purdue just
Go
won't
home.
care.
Oh,
Maybe
God.
Purdue just won't care about the Big Ten tournament this year, and they're going to focus their efforts into the real tournament. But I don't know. It's tough. I just think Purdue is far and away the best team in this conference, and not the best matchup. It would hurt, but I would probably go in with not a very high confidence level to that matchup. But hey, let's get there and see what happens. Tip the ball up and play some ball. Maybe Terrence Shannon will show up this time. I mean, that's the thing. You lost by 6. Terrence Shannon was 3 for 13, no show, silent. You get Damask and Shannon, Hawkins all show up together. You absolutely could win. I don't know though. Let's do a quick before we end this. Let's just go quick. Each give our Big Ten tournament bracket prediction here. Quick. I know we predicted the title game, but let's just see, just for fun. We'll go through these matchups. Who's winning Rutgers, Maryland?
Whoever gets to 51st, I don't know. Who do you think?
Yeah, I'll take the
I'm not
Terps.
picking. I don't care. Like,
Yeah,
oh God.
Penn State's beating Michigan, right?
Yeah, once again, if I was a betting man, I would place a filthy alternate spread minus 27.5 with Penn State. That game will be over 8 minutes into the game.
Hey, but Juwan Howard had a quote today where he said after they finished 9-24 or
8-23,
whatever,
man.
8-23, 3-17, worst in program history. His post game quote was, I think we won in a lot of ways this year. That's what he said. So,
They had a hell of a story this season.
bring him back, Juwan Howard, year 5. Let's do it. All right, so I'm going Maryland, Penn State on the just absolutely horrific Wednesday. Are you taking those two teams too?
Yeah,
Minnesota,
Maryland,
Michigan State. Who's winning that one?
You remember, like, was it 2 years ago? Michigan State was like in the same spot, kinda, and they lost their first game. Was that them? Yeah, okay. I'm taking Minnesota. I forget who they played though.
I think it was Michigan. Or no. That was the year that Michigan was the 1 seed.
So
Or maybe they won. They played Maryland, I think, actually. And they
and then
lost
went to the
Maryland.
first 4 and lost to UCLA.
Yes. So it was
I'm doing the same thing.
Michigan State, Maryland was in the 8-9 game, and the reason I remember that now is because Maryland beat Michigan State, and then Juwan Howard had his very first fight on the sideline with Mark Turgeon.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
In the quarterfinal 1-8 game, and that was the start of Juwan's sideline antics. He was getting in a fight and saying, "I'll kill you" to Mark Turgeon. So that brings back some memories from that tournament.
Yeah, so I'm going deja vu. Minnesota beats Michigan State. They end up in the first 4. And they lose to Indiana State or something.
I'll take Michigan State because I think the universe needs to make sure Tom Izzo gets into the tournament, and if they lose, they probably still put them in, like you said. But like and Minnesota, I think, has fallen off here after their nice little stretch. I'll take the Spartans. Wisconsin, Maryland. Yikes! This is another just.
I will not be watching that, but I will take Wisconsin in a 64-63 game.
I'll take Wisconsin as well. Iowa, Ohio State. Who's Illinois playing? I think I already kind of said I predict Ohio State. You think Ohio State's winning that one?
Ohio State, yeah.
All right. Indiana, Penn State. Who's taking on Nebraska?
God, dude, Indiana. Not watching that.
I'll take Indiana as well. They've won 4 in a row. All right. You're going Minnesota, Purdue. I'm going Michigan State, Purdue. There's no way Purdue's losing, right? Purdue as well for me. Northwestern, Wisconsin for the right to play Purdue. Who you got?
I'm going to go Northwestern. No
Yeah, I'm,
reasoning.
I'm going to take Northwestern as well. I just don't think Wisconsin's dead to me. I can't see them winning 2 games. Illinois, Ohio State. I think
I will take the Fighting Illini because I
I
think
got
they're a much better team.
I got Illinois as well. Nebraska, Indiana.
Ooh, I think this could be like a. No, I don't know, dude. I'm going Nebraska. I think Tominaga plays well for no reason.
I will take Indiana, and I'm puking saying that because I've been on the anti-Indiana train all year.
Semifinals, Indiana.
But I feel like I have to take some stupid team that sucked all year to make a run, and it feels like the last couple years there's been a team that's kind of gotten hot to end the year and has won a couple games. Indiana's coming in hot. I'll say they win. Yeah, that's disgusting if they're in the semifinal. Please don't tell me that puts them on the bubble. Please, if they're anywhere near the tournament, I'm going to lose it. Oh my God, if I have to watch them in the tournament. All right, Purdue, Northwestern.
Purdue, no question.
Yeah, Northwestern has played Purdue hard the last 2 years, but they're just too injured. I think Purdue can get that one. Illinois, Nebraska for you, Indiana for me.
I'll take Illinois. This is just disheartening to
This is
pick. Like I
this
don't want
is
to watch a
horrific.
single one of these games.
This is so bad, man. This isn't
I've
even.
lost my love for March in the
I
past
thought
10
this
minutes, dude.
I thought that this was going to be a fun way to close out the episode. It's actually making me like
This is miserable.
I've never wanted to watch a Big Ten tournament less than this one. I'll take Illinois as well. No chance in hell I'm taking Indiana to beat Illinois. I already feel disgusted. I picked them as far as I did. Purdue, Illinois, round 3. Kind of already discussed it. Does Illinois get it done? I don't think you gave your answer. Do you think Illinois beats Purdue in round 3?
As much as I want them to, I don't think they do. Like I think we've seen a similar story. Like that, there's some teams they just can't beat. There's some tiers of teams that we just can't really. We can compete with them, but we can't get can't get the ball to roll our way the final 4 minutes or whatever it is. So I'll take Purdue, unfortunately.
Yeah, it just feels like Purdue has been so dominant in the conference this year. They're just on a different level. And I think it'll be a close game again, but Fletcher Lawyer will probably hit a 3 and start like dancing down the floor, and I'll chuck my remote at my TV screen. So that's probably what's going to happen. Unfortunately, I do think Purdue gets it done as hard as it would be to lose 3 times to them, but obviously bigger fish to fry for both teams in this Big Ten tournament title, as much as it would be great to win. Hopefully we do get that. We will record as soon as Illinois loses in the Big Ten tournament. We will record a reaction. Not going to do every single game because they're just so condensed. Illinois plays 5:30 Friday and then like 2:30 on Saturday. So by the time we record, I edit and upload it, you'll have like 2 hours to watch it. So no point in doing that. But we will record. If Illinois does lose on Friday, we'll record after that, get it out Saturday. If they lose Saturday, same thing. And I think we'll probably separate our episodes, Big Ten tournament reaction, Selection Sunday reaction, into 2 different episodes. So stay on the lookout for that. Definitely got some March content coming your way here on Champagne on Ice podcast, and it's about time, man. It's officially postseason time. This is the best time of year. It's also my birthday in 3 days. It's just the best time of year all around for me in March, and I can't wait for it. Any last thoughts to close us out?
I don't know. 2 weeks from now, we'll know if Illinois broke their Sweet 16 drought. That's kind of crazy to think about still.
Yeah, man. This is
I
going to
hope
be
we
the
do.
most stressful NCAA tournament. Well, I mean, it's almost like I don't even want to use stressful watching that Loyola game because like it was just such a joke the whole time that like I just stood at it and like had no thoughts about it. This tournament, like every minute of the tournament, I'm gonna be like biting my nails off because it just feels like this team should get there, man. I'm tired of all these narratives, and they're all fair, but it's just so exhausting. And this team just needs a second weekend appearance, and this team should get there. And so I'm gonna be just stressed watching this tournament. It's gonna be
Can
fun.
we just get Can we get the worst 13 seed and then a 12-5 upset in our pod and then like
That'd be
an 8-9
nice.
upset? We just go to the Elite Eight or something. Like We're due for something like
We
that.
are due. We are due for a good draw. Luckily, I've been dreading Kentucky as like, of course they're going to give us the Kentucky game, and they're on at 32. Looks like they're up to the 4, almost 3 line now. I think we're probably safe from that. But we're just due for a good draw in general. Like if Washington State is a 5 seed, I think they've maybe fallen off. Or like I'm not all that scared of South Carolina. Like Illinois is due for that type of draw, in my opinion. So we'll
I
talk
don't think
more
we
about
run
that.
into it. I don't think we run into like a Houston situation where they're number 2 in Ken Palm defense.
Right.
Like
There's all
that's
the
not really
five
the way
seeds
it's
in
shaping up
general.
this year.
The 4 or 5s in general aren't great this year, but yeah, just like you said, honestly, just getting a couple upsets to go our way would be nice. But definitely, we'll talk about that. Selection Sunday, a week from today, about a week from right now as we sit here, a bracket will be in our hands, and we'll know everything about it. Can't wait for that. Have a lot of content here talking about that, breaking it down. But for now, this has been Champagne on Ice this week. Make sure you drop a follow on our Twitter account at Champagne on Ice. Subscribe the Field of 68 Podcast Network YouTube channel. Find us any other podcast platform, audio version, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else you get podcasts, you can find us. And we will be back sometime after Illinois loses in the Big Ten tournament. Hopefully it's not till Sunday. But we will be here to break it down, and we will have a bracket very shortly next time we talk. So very exciting time. Hope everybody enjoys conference tournament week, and we will see you next week, right?